So there's a statement when we did research for this topic, and I'm going to read it off the sheet because I just don't, I can't believe this is really happening a lot. I think it might be happening in small shops, maybe where it's not a lot of governance, but I can't see me doing this. I mean, my boss would be all over me if I did this, but here's a statement. AI spend is the new shadow IT. Individual employees and teams subscribing on corporate cards or expense reports with zero visibility until the invoice lands. I can't see that happening in my workplace.
I can absolutely see that happening. I believe it. I promise you that is.
Really?
Yeah, I have no doubt on that. As enterprises rush to deploy AI agents across IT service management, IT asset management, and business workflows, a critical question is getting skipped. Who is this agent? What can it touch? And who is accountable when it's wrong? This episode makes the case that AI needs the same rigor humans go through before getting access to systems, identity, and role based permissions, audit trails, and escalation paths. We quickly dig into why just turn on the agent is a governance failure waiting to happen. How ITIL aligned practices actually become more important, not less, in an agentic world, and what a real background check for an AI agent looks like in practice, from CMDB grounded context to human override checkpoints. Let's get into it.
Right. Welcome back to the Wired Garage. I'm Pops, that's Steele, and today we're popping the hood on something every enterprise IT leader is being told to do right now. Deploy AI agents into their ITSM, into their ITAM, into your business workflows, and everybody's moving fast.
And fast is an understatement. You might have had programs or projects that took months and months, and now you are seeing projects take weeks. Here's the problem. When a human is onboarded into a system, there's a process: identity verification, role-based access, audit trail, an escalation path if something goes wrong. When we're onboarding an agent, something that can actually take action inside your instance, inside your SaaS platform, a lot of orgs are skipping every single one of those steps.
Just turn it on and let's just see what happens.
Exactly. So today we're asking, what does a real background check for an AI agent actually look like? Let's fire it up. Where's the line between an agent that's autonomous and one that's just unsupervised?
Well, I think autonomous is meant to be autonomous. Unsupervised meant, oops.
I think to put it most simplistically, absolutely. I think there is process, there's governance, there's roles and responsibilities in autonomous. All of that being skipped for unsupervised. That's the let's turn it on, let's see what it's doing, or hey, I've got SitDev access, I'll just build it myself and deploy it.
Right. So if an AI agent makes a bad call inside your ServiceNow instance, how would you actually trace what happened and how confident are you in that answer?
Ooh, I think right now, not so confident. There is a product that is meant to handle this. We've yet to roll that out. That one is called AI Control Tower. I think in AI usage, whether you're doing it personally, you're doing it on a SaaS platform, probably the thing that you're relying on most is some type of execution log. So you've got an AI skill that is being triggered inside some logging mechanism in your system. It should show the agent, a timestamp, what was ran, the logic of why it ran it, and then was it successful? Did it fail? Kind of what the end result of that was.
Yeah. So if you do ticketing, it's easy, right? You can go to the activity streams and if you use like naming conventions for your virtual agents and your autonomous agents, you can figure some of this out If you're in the middle of scripting job routines, then you may get a little fuzzy. If you got autonomous agents running outside of ServiceNow that dip into it, that gets a little fuzzy, but you still need to have logging. That's just corrective best practices in anything you do. I don't care if you're autonomous or not, you should have logging, right?
And we will put that on your performance review, Mr. Agent.
Yeah.
I think when you start getting into the agent to agent use cases or the MCP use cases, having agent on the AI client, what was triggered, is there history there? And then wherever it lands on the platform, you need to have some kind of logging. At some point in time, audit is going to catch up with the requirements around AI and logging. And I think if you follow general best practices around software development lifecycle, around enterprise security standards, a lot of those mechanisms are time tested and would work with us as well. I think whatever will give you the best kind of single pane of glass is really what we're after. What does least privilege look like for an AI agent versus a human user? And should the bar be higher for agents? Something that comes to mind is machine identities. I think there's an acronym called IGA, or Identity Governance and Access. There's just Identity Access Management as a practice. What thoughts do you have in this space?
Why would you have the bar be higher? I don't know, some people may argue, of a potential malicious human user, just a mouse scripted AI agent.
Yeah, I guess what comes to mind for me is you have the capability to give that agent different roles than the users who access and use it. So
What's the, but listen to my question now. Tell me what you think.
I'm an AI
Difference
agent. I'm doing
between
what I
a
programmed to do.
mouse scripted AI, a
Mhm.
configured AI agent, right? Which is what you worry about, or a malicious human trusted user. Why set the bar higher for an AI agent? Why aren't they the same?
I can only click so fast. I only have so much context and I can only do so much.
They
An
don't
AI agent is on steroids. It has access to all your data, all your systems. It
only if you
can
give it though, right?
move much faster, yes, only if you provided that access. So I don't know that it's necessarily a bar thing. I think you have to have the bar set high and you have to have a standard. You got to make sure everything at least rises to that level of the standard. And if you have a standard for an AI agent that if a user accessing it shouldn't have access to a different data set than they wouldn't have themselves, that's part of that standard. And you have to make sure that the agent meets that criteria and that standard. I think the sensitivity is around the speed at which an AI agent can do something with access that it shouldn't have versus a person.
What about not a malicious human user, but what about an arrogant, I know it all, but I really don't admin user?
I'll say, what's the difference with AI?
I guess my big thing is I would, I'm on the board now of starting looking at this as even
Mhm.
Steven. They should become nothing different than a consultant account that has rights in my environment.
So, what's permissions? And I think you have to look at it from a use case perspective. But if you give that consultant account permissions that are different than the user accessing it, and that user tricks that AI, that user can now do something that they wouldn't have been able to do, assuming that that user has less permissions than the consulting account.
I think it is all about, I mean, we should do better guardrailing user accounts too. We too often give people too many rights. Least privilege is never something we really ever do.
I think that's where I mean, that's where the craft and the art and science of identity access management comes into play.
It is.
You have to think about the personas. What should that persona be able to do? And then only align the permissions in that manner. And I call them access models. So if you have a persona of an agent that works the service desk, what access models should they have? They should have an access model that's set up for knowledge. They should have an access model that's set up for ticket management. They should have an access model for remoting into somebody's system and resetting passwords. All those access models together given to the persona, and then you have that least privilege. So they're not given exceptions or roles that they shouldn't have. All of the roles they have align to a race or a matrix of their job responsibility.
So I think
That's
the
it.
old days of creating groups, the security groups was okay, you work in a network team, so you have now rights to X, either administer and or admin the network equipment as a whole, right? Everything, and now I think that shouldn't be true. You may be a member of that team because of ticketing and assignments and things like that, but I think maybe it's personas are the key for security groups now. It's that
I think we need a
security
episode on
personas
our
is what you should say.
yeah, I think we need an our back episode. The
Yeah, we're going to go off the rail here on this one, but I'll pull back. Okay.
okay.
How do legal, compliance, and security functions need to change your onboarding process to include AI agents, not just people? Did we just talk about this?
Well, I think that's the point of the episode. And I think I love the concept that you have some type of background check for an AI agent. I think the addition to this I would add is that it is not a one time onboarding process. I think it needs to be a continuous check to make sure that this agent never gets additional capability, tools, or permissions it was never supposed to have when it was onboarded. I
Yes.
think there needs to be some kind of continuous check and there needs to be an offboarding process too for these agents.
Yeah, because these agents are part of a product, and that product may not be only within your environment. It may be a third party product that sits outside you that you need to watch also what it has
Yep.
capabilities of being, like you said, the malware or holes or people taking advantage of it. So there are some lot of things there. So I agree.
Is your organization treating agent governance as a security initiative, an IT initiative, or who's leading this initiative? Is anybody?
I think I'm not going to speak for us because, but I'm going to speak for just overall. I think not a lot of businesses are looking at this in this way yet. But like you
Mhm.
said earlier in this episode, I think this is where auditing and governance is going. I think your auditors are getting smarter, hopefully, they should be getting smarter about this and treating these accounts like this. I mean, if we want to open a new persona, it should go through a security group check, I'll go through all the different pieces to do so. But I don't think there's enough organizations taking this seriously. Brian Fight may have the guy, one of the people we've had on here, he may have some input on this. Maybe we'll try to tag him in some short reel or something and just ask him this question and see what
Yeah.
he says. But I think he would have a good response to this.
And I think generally the business provides pressure for delivery and speed. IT provides solutions for delivery and speed. Security being a part of either IT or separate is monitoring that landscape, but risk is shared. So you may have the initiative in one place, you may have it in multiple places. Business has their own AI, IT has their own AI, and it is that shared risk profile that I think needs to be monitored on a consistent standard to make sure that we're not missing the mark in any one area.
Yeah. Yeah. So what would it take for you to trust an AI agent with a task you currently require a human to sign off on?
Phew, excellent question. And the thing that I lean to first, I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but I think about the process in either building that agent, monitoring that agent, and that goes to evaluations. So if I were to use an analogy for this, we talked about personas earlier. If you treated an AI agent like a persona and well, actually, let me take one step back. If you treated that AI agent like a human persona, what would it take you to trust a human to do that role or task without supervision? And I think that comes over time. I think you have specific evaluations, you have a rubric, you have scoring. Thank you for the reminder. I have performance review that is due. And so you'd have to have some kind of performance review on some kind of cadence to make sure that the agent is doing what it's supposed to. So it's completing the mission, it's doing it the way it's supposed to. It's not accessing tools or data permissions that it's not supposed to have access to. And that is audited. You can go back and look and track and see what it's doing. I think if it was consistent at meeting the mark, and people aren't perfect either, when maybe we shouldn't hold AI to the higher standard. I hope we can. Completing its mission, it is trustworthy, it's faithful to its design, what it's supposed to be doing. I think that would be the starting point, and that would give me some of the warm fuzzies to sign off.
I like your answer. There is a human who signs off on it. So that person must carry whatever it is to sign to do that. There is some human who signs off on it, right? So I think that's the person that you're trying to find out how they can take that over. I think it goes back to my old ways of 2 lane, 3 lane, 4 lane, 5 lane highway trust and sensitivity. It's blast radius, right? Those things always come to play. I could trust you with my life, but if the sensitivity is too large or the blast radius is too large, you still won't get all the keys of the kingdom, right? Just because there's just too much at risk, and I wouldn't put that on you. And I think that I wouldn't put that on, some of this. I think you're right on the answer though. Your first question is not about the AI agent. It's what would it take for you to do it without a human sign off, right?
Yeah, and it's that scorecard. Having all of those dimensions or metrics scored and rated, and then having that framework be something that that essentially becomes a standard. And so if it goes through that framework, passes the checks, we can sign off and say, yep, we trust this. It meets our standards for quality. And you just do that on a basis.
Yep. Okay.
So here's the takeaway. Before you flip the switch on an agent, ask it the same question you'd ask a new hire on day one. Who are you? What can you touch? And who's accountable if you get it wrong? I don't know if I'd ask a new hire that, but those are the things to think about when you're thinking about the agent. If you can't answer all three, you're not deploying an agent, you're deploying a liability.
Yeah, definitely risk.
I would say that one more time. If you can't answer what the agent is used for, what data is access to, and who's accountable if it does something wrong, you're deploying a liability.
That should be on the checklist of the form when you want to create an agent. Boom. Those answers better be filled in correctly. If this one hits home, subscribe. Please subscribe. Drop a comment. We'd love to hear what your take is on these things, on what would you do for a background check on an AI agent. Drop a comment with your own agent governance horror story. We might read it on the air. In fact, we may be asking some questions on some former people on our show, some questions about this because we're interested in their input. Share this with someone who's just to turn it on. Until next time, see you later.
Cheers.